We're live.
We're
Yay.
live.
We are live.
Yay.
Hi. Yay. Yes. I've got my glasses on so I can actually see comments today. In the past,
Fantastic.
when I've done these come as you are conversations, sometimes it's so I just want to be with you in the moment, listening to you. And so I haven't had my readers on, and because then I'm just like, okay, wait, I'm I'm in the conversation, but I'm also trying to read these comments. But when I did the podcast with you, hi everyone, I was on Dana's amazing podcast about 2 weeks ago, I want to say.
Yeah, it was 2 Saturdays ago.
Yeah.
So about a week and a half ago, I think.
Yes, the daily whatever, which we can talk about. But
I am sure we will, among other things.
And I was so impressed because one of the things, and I even got this wrong already because I messaged you all in the regular come as you are chat, which is not where I should have been messaging you. But one of the things that was happening during that live is Dana was looking at the comments from her desktop, which is certainly the way to go. Like me trying to do it on the phone is just not going to happen. So
you can't see it all.
No.
I've got mine. So I'm outside. I'm not in my usual spot because it's so nice out. It's like the end of summer in Seattle here. Like we're heading into the big dark. So I'm just drinking in all the vitamin D while I can. But I have the chat open right here.
Oh, great.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Linnea. Hi, Nick.
See, Dana's she's a professional with the podcasting stuff, and I'm not. I'm I think this is maybe my fourth hosted conversation. What happened for me is I have been on Substack. I don't even know how long. I know they send those yay, you've been publishing. I think it's 108 weeks or something now.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. And I started doing these conversations really maybe I don't know, 4 months ago, 3 months ago. Paul Crenshaw was my first conversation. He is amazing. Danny Shapiro is one of my close friends, and she did one with me.
Lovely.
Kate Maypother, she's an incredible poet. And now you. So it's not this is my thing. This is just, I could talk about writing all day long. I love talking to writers about writing. And I want to read your bio so that people, anyone who doesn't know you, can get to know you, and really go check out Dana's page. You have 3 different publications, right?
I do.
I'll read your bio
and then we'll dive into all that stuff. Yeah.
So, Dana DuBois, am I saying that right?
You are.
I thought I was. A Gen X word nerd living in the Pacific Northwest with a whole lot of little words to share. I'm a founder and editor of 3 publications, Pink Hair and Pronouns, 3 Imaginary Girls, and Gen Xy. I write across a variety of topics, but parenting, music, and pop culture, relationships, and feminism are my favorites. M dashes, Oxford commas, and well-placed semicolons make my heart happy. Same. I'm a big fan of the M dash.
Me too. And all the negative press around AI and M dash, I'm like,
no.
The reason AI does it is because writers like us do it.
Because because they've stolen from us. Yeah. And you can take the M dash from my cold dead hand. Yes. I'm not going to give it up.
Girl, same.
How that is. That's just how that is.
And my apologies if you all hear my dog weighing in. She's very podcast friendly, and we're outside, so she's
my dog is not podcast friendly, so I have locked him out because he is currently has a giant cone on his head. He was neutered last week. I mean, it had to be done. But he's very big. And he's a lot of puppy energy. And he is really not enjoying this cone.
Oh,
And he's kind of
baby.
like hurtling into things. He did not have really good spatial relations anyway. And now with the cone, he's like a menace. He'll just like turn his
Oh, dear.
clear an entire table. My legs are bruised, just the
Uh,
front, back, and sideways. So he's not joining us. But
oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but
yeah, I know. I
glad
feel
that,
so bad for him on
you
multiple
know,
levels. Um, my son got his wisdom teeth out Friday, so between like the dog, I was just like, yeah, the house
you got
is.
your hands full. I can't believe you made time for this.
Well, no, I was not gonna not
I
make
know.
time for it. I'm very excited to be here with you, and
Me too. And just logistics, can you hear my dog when she's barking this far away?
I hear her, but it's not bothering me, and
Okay.
she's sort of like in the background, so I don't feel like it's a
Okay.
distraction. I think we're fine.
Okay. Good
Um,
to know.
I am actually still I'm on my page and I am just looking to see like where I can see because I know that's where I'm going to see the chat.
Yes.
Uh,
So if you see, you should, if you hit refresh, you'll see our live at the top. And then if you click
ah,
in, oh, hey, Lawrence is here.
Hi, Lawrence. Okay, there we go. I see it. And once again, I'm like, I should probably lower the phone because I look like I'm at the kids' table. This is my thing that I do, apparently. I'm always like lower than it's anyway, it's fine.
And I feel like I'm like, hi, everybody. Hi.
I don't actually
I'm
care.
really
I'm
close.
gonna leave it because if I start trying to mess with that now, forget it. Hi, Lawrence. So Lawrence and Dana co-host the Daily Whatever, and I had such a great time with both of you.
Thank you. You were a blast. You were a joy to have on with us. And yeah, Lawrence is my co-conspirator and lifelong best friend. We've known each other since the fourth grade. We just joined Substack earlier this year with a wish at the beginning to have it be our own creative expression. He is a science fiction writer. I am a memoirist and I write personal essays, memoir, that whole thing, much like
Yes,
you. And we pretty quickly got in, decided that we wanted to also have a podcast. And on literally a day's notice, we were like, the Daily Whatever.
yeah,
Our publication is called Gen Xy because we are both Gen X and we are not a nostalgia publication. But in addition to pursuing our own creative passions, we also do a lot of cultural commentary.
it's so great.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
like I, you and I connected, and I think this kind of like segues into our topic because you had written this essay. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it was
The middle-aged men one.
yes,
Um,
middle-aged men keep ogling my 16-year-old daughter.
Exactly. Yeah.
And of course that caught my eye. I have a 16-year-old daughter and middle-aged men, like I read the essay and then there was just like kind of mayhem in the comments. Um
Yes, I've never had a story get quite so, feisty.
it was yeah,
It was
it was
great.
certainly feisty. And so that's how you and I ended up connecting. And that's part of, I think we were talking about when you were going to come on, I for me some of the things I always like to ask people are writers are about their writing habits. And
Mhm.
I certainly want to get into that with you. Like, do you write every day or do you have a ritual? Is there like a time of day? For me, I know like as a mom, I got
Okay.
really used to I will write when there is a block
Right.
of time. I cannot get precious about it has to be like this or like
The
the
full
lighting has to be
moon must be shining.
and not. Yeah.
I must have, a
My like
perfectly brewed cup of
matcha
tea. Yeah,
latte or
exactly.
spray certain like no, I just gonna yeah.
The moon
So
must
I
be
wanna
waxing and not waning. Yeah, no,
no,
there's no
like
time for
it's
that.
yeah. So, I mean, we could start there or we could go into like our sort of main topic. And I'm open, but let's start there. Like, do you write
Sure.
every day? Do you have rituals? Are you, like what is your what are
All
your
right.
habits?
First of all, I do want to say thank you for having me on. And I
Or
want to say I am thrilled to nerd out about just writing.
yeah.
So to answer your question, no, I do not write every day. I am, and this is part of the whole Gen Xy ethos is I have a full-time corporate job. I am the mom of two teenage daughters. I own my own home that I require a 1930 brick tutor that requires a lot of work and maintenance. I have friends. I am dating someone. I just keep three pets.
Yeah.
One is diabetic. The list keeps going and going, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's Gen Xy tends to be multi hyphenate, and we have to keep shifting and pivoting all the time. So I never really considered myself a writer. I considered myself a wordsmith, a content manager, someone who, knew the rules and was competent. Um, I'm not even going to get into the whole origin story because we could be here all day. But about 2.5 years ago, hung out my shingle on Medium. Actually, I should go back before that. I did found a music website in the
Yes.
early aughts here in Seattle called Three
That's
Imaginary Girls.
girls. I
It
I
is.
went and found that, and it's so great. Like
Thank
people
you.
who are music lovers and like love live music and that whole scene of like, I mean, it's so cool being in Seattle too. I think
It was a magical time. The
yeah.
aughts were a magical time. But even then, I always saw myself more as like a community builder, arts supporter.
Mhm.
These were not long form, deep, meaningful stories. This was like, I'm at a show. I love this show. And we ended up building this big community and hosting events on and on. But when I started writing on Medium, I really started what I now call digging up the memoir dust, like
Mhm.
really excavating old memories and kind of forming connections into narratives in ways I never had before. I like to say that, like, if you're really doing memoir properly and reflecting back on the past, um, at least for me, when I dig it up, I end up coated in memoir dust. Like in order to, like, I wrote a story that was for a writing prompt that the memoirist did a couple years ago. It was like family of origin stories around food and meals and gatherings. And my grandparents never cooked, but they always took us to the same restaurant in South Florida called the Rascal House. No longer exists, but it was this like perfect New York Jewish delicatessen. And at the time where they lived, it was all older New York Jews who now, with the wisdom of age, I know probably came down, like had survived or were alive during the Holocaust, and they were now retired and all the things, right?
Yeah.
And I swear, what by the time I was done writing that, like, I could taste the pickles. I could smell the onions on my grandfather's breath. I could hear my grandmother's voice and the way she would call me Bubala. Like, I thought I could pick up the phone and call them, and they've been dead for decades.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happens to you with the
Oh yeah.
memoirs, but the only way I can really do that, I know we were joking about Moonlight, is to really carve out time where I'm not feeling the other obligations. And so that tends for me to be at night. My natural tendency is to be a night owl. And so um, the flashes of inspiration, once I got the like writing wheels spinning, I
Yeah.
would be on the bus home from work and like literally on my thumbs would be drafting medium drafts in the bathtub. I actually write really well in the bathtub. Sometimes when I'm trying to sort something out, I'll just blurt.
Yeah.
But when it comes to those like final edits, the final like I swear I'm telling myself a story sometimes as I'm writing because I tend much you do this as well. Lawrence calls it the weave, weaving together disparate parts into a
Yeah.
narrative.
Yeah.
And as I'm writing the sections and it takes coming back and being like, what is this story? I know this all comes together cohesively.
Right.
That work always late at night.
Yeah.
Almost because of my life, not
Right.
because I want to be doing it then, but because I can, and because that's when I don't feel a sense of a urgency or deadline ahead of it. I have to have that space open.
Yeah.
So that's my writing practice. And I will say, since joining Substack and podcasting, we podcast really early, 7 a.m. my time,
Yeah.
every weekday, and my writing has really slowed. So that's something I want to change, but it is hard to carve out space um, for craft.
It's funny, like I had a book come out in 2016, and I've been
Amazing.
since like, I mean, I don't even know. I've lost track, but I've been practicing since I was 20. So it's been
Mm,
like
amazing.
4 years.
Yeah.
And I have a website
Yeah.
that I've had since 2009, and stream classes all over. Um and so I ended up blogging back when we blogged, right? That was like
Yes.
2010. We don't blog anymore now. We write personal essays, but
Right.
um I started blogging on Facebook. This is what people were doing back then. And
Yep.
I was doing it for for the yoga site. And I was writing about sort of like yoga practice for the Western mind. Like, how do you apply this stuff to your busy, stressful
Yes.
daily life? And I didn't use a lot of Sanskrit. I just kind of like wrote about like, I had my kids were tiny. Was at the time going through a divorce. I was in business with my not yet ex-husband. It was a lot. It was like advanced yoga.
Come on.
It was a lot. And
Advanced yoga.
advanced yoga. And we stayed in business together until like 2017,
Oh,
2018. So that was really advanced yoga.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So but anyway, when the I ended up the blog, it was just like the right thing at the right time, and
Mhm.
we happened to be one of the first three yoga websites that was doing that was streaming classes. Now, there's so many now, but it was it was right at the cusp of all of that. Um,
Amazing. Way to
yeah,
go. Way to
it
be a
was. It was
pioneer.
just, yeah, it was. That was. I mean, give credit where credit is due. That was really my ex-husband. He was very tech savvy. I'm not. That's not my like thing, but
Right.
he could sort of see that coming down the pike. And so he built this site. There were no templates at the time, and he kind of like Frankenstein
Right.
this together. And I didn't really understand how incredible it was until the first time we streamed a class and I heard from people in like the south of France and Japan. And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
oh, this is amazing, right?
Right.
So, anyway, what ended up happening to get it back to writing is I was then like writing on the Facebook page, and it just was the right thing at the right time. That page took off, and I ended up getting a book deal eventually. Um,
Amazing.
so the book comes out, but this is part of what we can, I hope, dig into. It wasn't exactly the book that I wanted to write because I've been writing my whole life.
Mhm.
And they very much wanted like a yoga book, which is understandable. It's a yoga page. That's where like, the
Right.
fan page has like 174,000 people on it.
Amazing.
And so, I couldn't exactly write. They kind of wanted me to shoehorn like yoga practices in at the end of each chapter, or like,
Right. And you're like, I want to write memoir.
I'm just trying to write some things here, but okay, so I that's not to say I I am, I'm very happy with the book. It's just
Mhm.
not the book that I really wanted to write.
But you're writing
Um,
that book now, right?
I am writing that book now. And I don't think I
Yes.
could have written that book then. Because my parents were still alive. Again, hopefully we could get into this. But
Oh, we're going to get into that.
we're going to
Yeah.
get into it. But what I was going to say to you is when it came out, people kept asking me, like, how do you find the balance? Because you have the kids and you have the business, and like, you just wrote this book. Like, how do you find the balance? And I'm like, there is no balance. Like, you don't. That's a fallacy. So just don't
Right.
do that to yourself. It really comes down to choices, right? Like, some things you're going to have to not do. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, finite amount of time in the day. Um,
You know what I never do is fully clean my house, Allie.
you're
That's
gonna
just
prioritize certain things, and certain things
right.
not making it, like, they're not making it on the list. And that's it.
Yeah.
So kids,
Can't
one,
slip.
and then
Yeah.
whatever else, is going after that. And
Yeah.
I didn't sleep. That was a big part. That's like pretty much
Yes.
what I sacrificed for a long time.
Yeah. Oh my God. My aura ring is like, you have to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. For
You'd
you,
have to sleep more. And I'm like, eh,
do I? Yeah.
no. I
So
mean,
let's talk about it. Like
okay.
you, because I do think this is a topic for people who write memoir or who write personal essay. And I know, like for me, my kids are 16 and 18.
Hmm.
So, I'm always very cognizant of the fact that, like, my daughter reads my stuff currently. My son occasionally reads my stuff. Um, I know that someday they may go back and read more, or like, so
Yeah.
that's always there in my mind. Um, and when I was writing the book, like the book that I had to get a waiver at the
Oh,
end.
for
My
sure.
publisher required waivers from my parents, which that was fun. Like
My
my
God.
mom, I could not use the word alcoholic because she would not admit she was an alcoholic. So I think I said like she was very fond of Chardonnay and people could like read between the lines. And that my
Yes.
dad, I said he like struggled with fidelity or something. My dad was like an Olympic level womanizer. Like I don't think I've ever seen anything like it, and I've seen a lot. Is
He
so
was fidelity challenged,
yeah, like I did my best to like
monogamy challenged. Oh my God.
yeah. So that was partly why I couldn't write the book
Right.
that I was trying, that I really wanted, that I'm writing now, for example.
Yeah.
So what do you like? I know you, when we were talking about this, you said you have like rules and it depends. So let's hear your.
I have given this topic a lot of thought. So I was very excited when you suggested it. Um, and I have a multi-pronged approach, I suppose,
Right.
because the stories I have written to date, um, there are several audiences or, several subjects.
Yeah.
And one of the big ones is my kids, because I founded a publication called Pink Hair and Pronouns, which is about parenting gender nonconforming kids. My youngest went on a gender journey a few years back and has kind of, I don't want to say come through it, but is now, presenting in the gender that she was born into. And when I ask what pronouns she wants to use, it's I don't care.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's obviously um, a, an audience I'm very mindful of. And then I have an older daughter who the middle-aged men keep ogling my 16-year-old was about. So first I'll list the kind of categories. There's writing about my kids. I've written.
Were they both like fine with you writing about it, talking about it?
That's a great question. I'm going to come back to that, and I'll
Okay.
first say
Okay.
that. So my parents are both alive.
Yeah.
My mom is very healthy, like fit, crazy fit, 78-year-old.
Yes.
My father lives in memory care, and even if he were able to read something I wrote, would not remember it 10 seconds later. Um, and then I write about relationships and dating quite
Yeah.
a bit. And I have an ex-husband. I have was in a long-term 6-year relationship that ended a couple years ago, and then dates, right?
Right.
And for each of these audiences, I have different internal tenets, I suppose. I haven't written them down, the tenets, but um, we'll start with my kids. So the first story I wrote was one of the that's like part of my origin story as a writer, especially on Medium. It's called What to Expect When You Weren't Expecting a Gender Nonconforming Child. And it's not really memoir. It's a little more journalistic.
Yeah.
But I did, in the course of that story, I use my child's name. And, and I share the note that they wrote me when they first came out. And so I asked, like, hey, I've written this. Are you okay with me writing it? And she said, yes. And I said, and by this time, it was already old, right? It
Mhm.
wasn't while we were in the throes of it. And said, are you okay with me sharing the note? Do you want to read it? And she said, no. And I do switch between she and they. So does she. So,
Yeah.
so, um, so that was a like, yes, fully on board. From there, it has been mostly, I share stories. I do not put anything, like I tend to share what I write on my social media platforms. I don't, I keep, but our rule in this house is nothing goes, mostly it's Instagram, but nothing goes on channels where their friends are.
Right.
That's their priority. And I've been published. I was published on today.com and Insider, and Parent Map, also writing about as a pick your pronouns kind of content. And I've
Yeah.
asked about those because they are external, but it's not things that they read or that their friends read.
Right.
Uh, Um, I write under my DuBois is not my legal last name. That's my writer name and my social media name. So it does not match my kids' names.
Right.
That is a protective measure. Um, but beyond that, there's sort of a neutrality of like, I stay out of their spaces
Yeah.
with this content. And I have not named my eldest. With my youngest, I did because like it's a
Part of
chosen
the
name, right? It was part of
yeah.
the coming out. So it would have been hard to tell the story without it. I suppose I could have used not real names, but like there's a literal image of the coming out note in that story.
Right.
So I don't. All of that said, there are personal things that have happened with my kids that I would not write about.
Yeah.
I write like, yes, they are their stories and there are personal aspects to it around gender, and, gender identity, but it's not the core personal things of them. And I wouldn't write those stories
Yeah.
because, even though sometimes I'm like, that would be a good one. This is like something a lot of parents could learn from, but
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Just on like different topics.
Right.
So, um, I know I have friends who are like, they won't show photos of their kids online. They won't talk about their kids online at all, who might say, oh, you should get consent for every single story. I feel like there's kind of a blanket, like keep out of my spaces
Right. Right.
where we net it out. I hope. And I do, when I write them, there is a thought in my head of like, one day they're going to be interested and read all of this.
Yeah.
It's pretty natural right now that they're like, it's just what mom does.
Right.
It's not
My
that interesting. That's
my
just my mom.
son cracks me up, but like one of his friends asked him if he ever listens to my podcast, and he was
Yeah.
like, I talk to her all day long. Like, why would I listen to that? Totally made me laugh. Also, I was going to say Michelle had said like she thought it was going to get easier as her kids got
I
older.
saw that.
Yeah, I was
Nope.
laughing too. Like Michelle, same.
Same.
Um,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, it gets easier in that, like, when my kids were tiny,
Yeah.
you just don't have the free time. Like, there isn't any block of time. And, as a single mom, like, you don't have any,
Right.
there just isn't any. So, like, I used to write after they would fall asleep. And they would often fall asleep like on me in my bed, and I'd just be there with my laptop till like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning till like the
That's
screen
amazing. I
go
never
in.
did that.
It would just get blurry. It's so funny too, because at a certain point, we're asking, like, I went to the eye doctor. I think maybe I need adaptive glasses because, like, the screen is getting blurry. And he's like, no, you have 20/20. Like, explain when is, and then I'm like, well, it doesn't really usually happen till like
2 in the morning when I'm
a.m.
writing.
Like, do you think maybe you're just like exhausted? I was like, oh, yeah, it's
You're like,
probably that.
I deny that. That can't
Yeah, that.
possibly be. I'm superhuman. I
Thought
have to
about
be to
that.
get all this
Yeah.
shit done.
Probably
Oh
not
my
my
God.
eyes. But yeah,
So funny.
so it gets easier in that regard. Like I remember when my daughter, who's the younger, my baby, like when she started going to preschool and I actually had like a few hours of time.
Right.
I remember that being huge. But as far as like what Michelle is talking about, it's true because you're just like the problems are
Yes.
the things you're worrying about are more intense, and
Mm-hmm.
you're driving, you're taking you're driving your kids places, or you're picking them up, or
Yep.
or you're like, now like my son drives, but I'm like worrying, it's like people on the road are crazy. It's just
Yeah.
the things like obviously I know you've been talking about this and I right, like every time we have a school shooting and the fact that I
Mm,
can even say the sentence every time it's like
mhm.
so devastating.
It
So
is.
yeah, it's like you're still worrying. I thought it would get
Always.
easier in a lot of ways too, and it's
The
just
worries get bigger.
devastating in a lot of ways. But anyway, so okay, so that's what you for your kids, you sort of like you stay out of their spaces and you have a line of like, I'm sharing certain things, but not like the personal, deeply specific things about each one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the middle-aged men keep ogling my 16-year-old story, the one that we found each other through. Because you didn't mention this before, but I do have to say, Allie left the most insightful, caring, like empathetic, but so firm comments on this guy who was being kind of awful in the comments. And that was how we met because I like messaged her immediately, like, wow, thank you for these comments. And you were like, I was just about to reach out to you. I love this story. And it's been fate ever since. Kismet.
Yay.
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 But that story, I didn't actually tell my then 16-year-old about it.
Yeah.
And she saw it. She has posted a couple stories on Medium with my help. And so she signed up. And so the alert came through and she was like, well, what is this? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably should have shown this to you first. But it's not, there's nothing identifying about my child about this. It's more
Yeah.
my
No, it's more of a
musings.
general statement about
Yes.
what is happening. And I mean, I think I mentioned this to you.
Yeah.
Hi Kate. Hi Robert. I'm seeing a lot of people. Kara's
I
here.
say that, Robert.
Um, um I I think I mentioned this to you, but like my daughter is also 16 and she went to like a farmer's market to a friend of hers works there every weekend
Yeah.
selling bread. And my daughter went and covered for her a few weeks ago. And worked, I dropped her off there. It was like, I don't remember what time. I think I dropped her off there at like 7 a.m. or something. And she was done at 2. And she was just telling me like, it was crazy. Men were just like hitting on her the entire day. And they were like a
Yeah.
50-year-old men. And she was like, one of them was a cop. Like,
Yeah.
and she does
Gross.
not look 18. It's
Gross.
like, dude,
Gross, gross, gross,
come
gross,
on.
gross.
Like, really,
Just no.
it's just really, come on, do better,
You better
like,
men. Yeah.
look, okay, but like, really, I don't know. It's just so, we don't have to get into that whole thing, but it's just,
We don't. I spent a lot of time explaining to men and some women that there's a big difference between looking and leering
yeah,
because a look is personal and it's subtle and it's just an appreciation and we're all
people
allowed
are
to look at
human.
whatever we want to look at. But
Yeah,
a leer involves the object and it comes with an intent, a
yeah,
negative intent that
I, it's
is creepy.
predatory and you can
Yeah,
feel the difference. And
absolutely.
I'm just I know we covered this a lot when I was on with you and I don't want us to like I could very easily veer, we could
I know
go
we
down
could
that
like shake
path
our
easily.
mama fists at this all day long and
The
be like,
rage, the rage.
yes,
When you have your own experiences along those lines and then your daughter
yes,
like kind of just um
it
okay.
is rough.
So, and I mean you also touched on your parents and
Yeah, that's a
uh
very different situation.
it is. Yeah.
And so to I'll tackle my dad first. So my dad was I'm going to say was even though he's still alive, but the dad who raised me is not really still alive. He was this bombastic, angry, yelling kind of New York guy. All my friends have memories. Any friends of mine from back then who would come to my house were terrified of my dad. He was just a really hard person to be around. And it's okay. But what's been so interesting with dementia is how it's peeled off the layers of my dad. And my writing about him started. The first story was the one on the bus with my thumbs, because it started with this vision of my 10th birthday party, which was a sleepover, and I had I don't know 15 or 20 10-year-old girls over. We had a big empty living room at the time, and we were doing what 10-year-old girls do, giggle and who knows what. And in the middle of the night, in storms my dad, like in his tidy whities and his hair flopping every way, and just starts like, shut up, like yelling at us, and then separates us all into different rooms. Happy birthday to me. I'm 10.
So
And how,
devastating
yes. And how, but at the
and
time, it's
embarrassing,
like
all the things.
hard. I can't even really remember what it felt like to be a 10-year-old girl experiencing that, except that it was so blunted because that's what dads did. I don't remember if I was embarrassed. I don't remember talking about it with anyone, but that memory came forward for me and I wasn't quite sure why. But I started writing it and I start writing about we maintained a relationship throughout my adult life. Me in Seattle, him in Florida, very infrequent visits. He's super Trumpy and so was his now late wife. And then like the signs of dementia started coming in. And when she died, but how like I never wanted more than that. I knew I didn't have space for more than that. There's two of us, but I have a brother and it always falls to the girl, right, to be the caregiver. And then my stepmom unexpectedly died 3 years ago now. And suddenly I had to fly to Florida on a day's notice and deal with my grief-stricken Alzheimer's, like well in the throes of Alzheimer's, also had COVID father. I had a week to find him a memory care and to get him admitted and all the things. So that's where the story starts, is me tricking him essentially, like pulling the agony of pulling him away from this home that they'd lived in for 35 years, just as he's lost his wife. The dog of their 12-year-old fractious diabetic dog could not come with him. And pulling all of that together. And I like had started writing all these component parts, but it was really at the end when he's admitted, I take his nurse, like the nurse who had been caring for him outside of the helped me get him, like trick him into the nursing home. And um, then he starts yelling at me when he realizes he's there to stay.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're my daughter. I hate you. Get me the fuck out of this place. And I was sending him to his room. Like that was the mental connection. And I didn't start there, but it was like I flashed back as I was writing that 10-year-old me felt so helpless. There was no satisfaction about being adult me and sending him to his room. But it was this realization
heartbreaking. It's like
how it had shifted.
heartbreak. It's like heartbreak on the front end and the heartbreak on the back end. Like it doesn't.
Yeah. And
Neither one feels
it
good.
took a week or so, but now he knows no differently. And every time I go back to visit him, I get a new story because I see a different part of him and what I've learned. And I write very bluntly about him in ways I never would if he were coherent because he can't read it. He doesn't know. Is that kind? I don't know. I think it's a story a lot of us have. And I am a firm believer in like we have the right to share our own stories.
Yeah.
And effectively, the dad who raised me has passed because he is this person I know. He's kind, he's docile. It's like you needed psych meds your whole life. You're finally getting them. You're safe here. And um, he is, you can fully see now the wounded little boy who was always underneath all that anger and bravado. That's all he is now, is this anxious, wounded little boy. Oh, and that was where that story ended, was the nurse who helped me admit him. Her name's Rachel. I did ask her for permission to use her name because, you know, I sent her the story. She, at the time was like, get out of here. I'll finish this. You're triggering him. And so when she came out after getting him admitted, when he was screaming and all of that, she had stood up to him and been like, because he was like, I'll hit you, get out of my way. And she was like, you will not. He could stand and move more than he can now. He's now in a wheelchair. But she was like, you're going to sit down and you're going to listen to me because that's not the man you are. And when she came out, she was like, did you see the way when I stood up to him that he cowered? She was like, what was his mom like? And I was like, I don't know. She died years before I was born when he was pretty young. And she was like, I'm a psych nurse. I would bet my license on the fact that he was abused. And I was like, of course. So I write about him quite frankly and directly about the experience of like getting to know my father through his memory loss. Like as he loses, I gain so much more visibility into who he is, which is remarkable. And I can share some of the stories. It's funny, like because Gen XC has so much podcasting, so many old podcasts up, it's hard to find the writing sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think I've written about him 5 or 6 times.
It's so interesting because I feel like also this age that we are in, And and you and I are new to each other. Like
We are.
we've talked a few times, so
We're
we
kindred spirits,
are
Allie. We
kind of
are
like
kindred
connected.
spirits.
But I don't think but I like since 2021, I
Yeah.
lost my mom at the end of 2021.
I'm sorry.
She got ALS out of nowhere.
Oh my God, that's the worst way.
It was
I am
brutal.
so sorry. Oh my God.
Thank you. Yeah, I would not wish ALS on anyone. It's a terrible disease.
Awful. Holy shit.
But and I shouldn't say she got it out of nowhere. I mean, um she did not have the genetic marker for it, and I think she my mom was an alcoholic, and she would drink sometimes to the point where she would like fall down. And so in the last 5 years leading up to that diagnosis, she had fallen at least 4 times where she had black eyes the next day, and she would never
Uh,
go to the doctor. Um, and she would never admit that she had a problem. So that is that can be head injury, can be a precursor
oh,
to,
really?
yes. They're
That's
doing
such a chicken egg
research.
question of like, was she falling not just from the drinking, but from the ALS?
No, it's the
No.
drinking. Yeah. I mean, she had no prior symptoms. It was, there's, there are so many different things you
Guillain-Barré.
can
Yeah.
get. Yeah. But for her, it started with bulbar palsy she was having.
Mhm.
It was wild because it was during COVID. And so I was in LA, she was in New York. And I don't want to I could talk about this for a long time too, but I started to notice that she was slurring earlier in the day. I used to be able to do the math and know that if I spoke to her before 5 p.m. in New York, I was probably safe. Like she wouldn't have started drinking. And then that time started to
I'm
creep
sorry.
up. And I was like, wow, it's like, is she drinking at like 11 a.m.? Like, what is happening? Because she's slurring all the time. And it was the bulbar palsy, which is like often the beginning of ALS for people,
Right.
and not always, but often. And
You know,
so,
oh, sorry.
no, no, no. But I wasn't even going to get into all. I'm writing an entire memoir about my relationship with my mother. She blamed me for her ALS because of an email
What?
I sent her. That's another
What?
story. Yeah, it was brutal. It was really rough.
Okay, that is wild. Yeah, you
It was.
know that the ALS is not your fault.
No, I know. I mean,
Like,
I
no.
know that, and I knew that then, and I knew it logically, but still
Right.
really
That's
painful.
so painful to hear from your mom. Oh my
It was
God.
tough. And it's like that age where you have teenagers that
Yeah.
you're responsible for, and then you have aging parents. And I had heard about the sandwich generation, but until you're in it, I think it's like those things that you hear,
Yeah.
perimenopause or whatever, but then until you're in it, you're like, you're
You're like,
not
oh,
really
I
paying
read about
attention.
this.
Right. Because you're like, there isn't a reason for you to really pay attention because life's already
Yeah.
handing you enough stuff to be dealing with. So you're like,
Right.
okay, I don't know what that exactly is. I guess I'll deal with it when I get there.
Right.
Um, but it's intense. And so I won't go into too much more about that, but that experience with her was absolutely brutal. It like did me in. And for like a year, she passed away at the end of 2021. I was with her for the last month of her life in the ICU. I was flying back and forth every week from
Oh.
New York to LA. I just would like make sure that my kids were okay and I'd fly back. And then 6 months later, this is what made me think of it. Well, I always think of it, but my half sister, who had been taking, my dad was in an assisted living facility near my half sister in Georgia,
Hmm.
his daughter from his first marriage. And she woke up one morning, she had a stroke and she did not make it.
Oh my
And
God. The daughter, your
the
sister.
daughter,
Okay.
my half sister, who I had never had a relationship with until like the last few years of my dad's life, because my dad and my mom had an affair, and he left his first wife and kids and married my mother, who was 20 years younger. I think my mother was 3 or 4 years older than his daughter. So just like, I have like, her mom did not want her to have a relationship with me. And I totally get it. Like,
Right.
yes, I totally understand. Um,
Uh,
so she and I connected. I actually asked my dad at a certain point when he was like 91 or 2. I could see maybe he was 93. I went to visit and I was like, yeah, he's losing it. I asked him if I could, to ask her if I could call her because I figured if I don't speak to her, like we're going to see each other at his funeral. That's like what's going to
right.
happen. Um, and she was really open to it. Her mom had died like years before. So she and I started speaking. She had to go get him and bring him to Georgia during the pandemic because his wife, fourth wife, went into memory care. He could not go with her. And so my half sister went and got him and brought him, which I couldn't believe she did because he had left her at 16 and never really had much of a relationship. So that was really interesting. But she has a stroke. And her husband calls me and said, and she and I had become friends. Like we had talked a lot. She told me so many stories, like prior to him meeting my mother that I didn't know. Um, and no one could really understand what it's like to be his daughter better than his other daughter. Like it was
Right.
great to talk to her. Um, so her husband called me and said, listen, you need to take over all the things that your sister was doing. I don't
Oh
ever want to
gosh.
see your dad again. I don't want his mail coming here. I think he is the reason she had a stroke. And I want you to be really careful because he's going to do the same thing to you. So I'm like, oh, great.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
But I had to move him out here because like I could not manage his care while he's in Georgia.
Right.
So I did. I moved him out here and I found an assisted living facility for him. But he would also do the things that you're describing. He would like yell at me. Um, and it was that thing of like, what do I owe this? Like, what do I owe this person?
Yeah.
And when I would write about it, I was careful. Um, but since he's passed, I've written about it much more openly because it's like not in a takedown way. It's not,
No.
revenge like that. I think that's the thing for me that might be interesting for people is if I ever feel like I'm writing from anger, that's for your journal.
Yes.
That is not for public consumption. If
It
you
is.
are
Yeah.
writing in a revenge, "Fuck this person," like that is not, honestly, that is a really good sign. No one else should read this.
Right.
Uh,
It is hard to
that's,
be a reliable narrator when you are too close
yeah,
to the
yeah,
incident. I
yeah,
have one story I wrote that I had friends beg me not to publish it because it was a bad dating story. And it's live with a little bit of tweaking over time, but it was the kind of story it is.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, I want it to read like that. No, I can do it. I can be a reliable narrator. And I think that
yeah.
I do. But it's about a it's called I Gave My Consent, He Gave Me Bruises. So that gives you an idea what the story's about. But I wrote it immediately after and I had friends
Yeah,
who were and the first draft of it is awful. Like
yeah,
I'm glad I had friends be like, that can't hold.
yeah,
Um
yeah.
no problem writing that one up. Didn't
No,
name them
I
by
think
name
that
because I
that
didn't want to get sued. But
yeah. I think that's always a really good for any writer. I think that's a really good indicator. It's like if you
yes.
are feeling, you know, first of all, for me, I think time, like, it's a good rule of thumb to not be
Mhm.
writing for public consumption if you are currently going through something painful or enraging that isn't like a collective experience, like school shootings. Go ahead and write
Mhm.
from the rage. Go for it. Um, but if it's something that you personally are going through, this is me. This is my opinion. Obviously, do with it
Yeah.
what you will. But I think that's not the moment to be
Yeah.
writing because you're not clear headed and you haven't had time to think about your own, like, not what you're describing, date, like, that's another that's something else. But I'm talking about like relationship stuff or, you know, I've always been very careful about, writing about my ex-husband. He's the father of my children. They're going to read this and probably, possibly. And I am incredibly careful about that,
I do
like
not write about my ex-husband. I have
exactly.
written exactly one story, and it's called, How to Divorce Well,
Yeah.
and it's all about, uh, what we have done to be the family that we are.
Yeah.
He's mentioned, like, we traveled to Ireland together, and I did write about going to Dublin to look at colleges and maybe try to plan a new life outside of Dublin. So he's in that. I mean, our family, it's all about our family. So,
Yeah.
but
So one,
I will probably never write about the ending of my marriage. I just,
it's really interesting. I wrote one piece when the book came out because they asked me to during like the
Mhm.
promotion because we were still in business together. So of course people love that story. Like, oh my God, you're in business
Yeah.
with your ex-husband and you're, like, how does that work and whatever. And I think it was called Deconstruction. Um, and I sent it to him first. I was like, I want you to read this. I want you to feel good about it. Let me know if there's anything you want me to
Mhm.
change, whatever. Um, but I'm currently writing this memoir and really
He's
thinking
mentioned.
carefully about how I'm going to handle that
Yeah.
because, and I have ideas and it's going to be creative, but it's definitely going to be, um, that's a place where I think for me, I'm incredibly protective of my kids and, um, that's always going to come first, and
Mhm.
so I think you can get across what you need to and not, maybe there are certain things that you don't get to say and that's
Right.
okay, you know? Um, so yeah, yeah, that to me is a hard line. And then I think one thing that was two things I'll share that I find really interesting. And I'm curious about your thoughts on this, but like I've been writing this about my mom. The
Right.
book that I'm writing is very much about my relationship with her, which was very complicated because of the alcoholism and because of her rage, which she
Mhm.
really did direct at me a lot.
Mhm.
But it's also about, I think, the way our mothers tend to pass along rage
Mhm.
inadvertently. I think it's like in the water because we're in a system where women have not had equal,
Right.
you just haven't had equality. And I
Mhm.
think that the rage of that, it comes out sideways,
Yeah.
and for some people more than others. And so that's what I'm writing about, because it's like we all find, you can find your own stories interesting, but it's like, why does anybody care? Right. To me, it's like,
Mhm.
that's interesting. Like what is happening here? I remember
Yeah.
feeling like very confused sometimes that my mother would be furious with me over something a man on the street did, like looking at me or like, it's like, I don't, why are you angry at me? Or like, is this my fault?
Right.
You know, um, but I have found that the more honest I am about what happened between us,
Mhm.
the more it is really like a love letter to her in this way, because which is not what I thought, and when she was alive, I couldn't write this because she wouldn't have been able to handle it. But the
Right.
reality is like there's so much love tied up in all of that hurt, and all of that pain and disappointment. I just really loved her so much. And I
Of
think she
course.
really loved me too. And if she could have handled it, like, there could have been a lot of healing there and a lot of really good conversation. So that's part one. And I think part two, and this
Mhm.
is a more recent thing, is like, I think that I used to think if I was writing really positive things,
Yeah.
then that would be okay for people. Like if I'm writing something that's like glowing about somebody, you know, then even if I'm covering their identity or whatever, like, which I tend to try to do that,
Mhm.
uh, I would think they wouldn't be bothered, but that's not always the case. Like, some people are just private, like, they just don't want their stuff out there, period. So, anyway, that whole Anne Lamott thing of, like, if people wanted you to write warmly
Right.
about them, then they should have behaved better. That's
Right.
one way to go. And then there's,
Sure.
like, whose story is it? Are you allowed to talk about, your experience?
Yeah.
And then there's, like, you don't want to hurt people you love. So all that. Curious about your take.
Um, I'm a big fan of Dan Savage, the podcaster and writer.
Yeah.
And it's a relationship and sex advice. And he always says, and it's not about writing, just in general, though. We have the right to our own lived experiences. And I think that's a beautiful sentiment. What's what's occurring to me that's making me laugh a little bit, maybe it's because I haven't published a book. I'm publishing on Medium and Substack, and I'm a small stacker, at least for now, right? I have written in plain view of people who I don't think pay attention. And I'm laughing about that a little. I don't write very much about my mom. I could probably write a book about my relationship with my mom. It wouldn't be a book about rage, but there is, I think, an opportunity chasm between Gen X women and their moms, especially moms like mine, who, while they were alive for the whole sexual revolution hippie thing, like, did not partake, married very young, had kids very young. When she went to college, women could go, but they went to get their MRS degree. You could be a teacher, you could be a secretary, you could be a nurse. And
Yeah.
that's what opportunity was. Raising daughters like us who were like, I never felt any different. I never thought opportunity was any different for me than for my brother. You go to school and do whatever you wanted. You weren't going to marry young. You were going to go to a city and go to college. And then I had this whole, like, I would have liked to have married and had kids younger, but that wasn't the Gen X way, right? Uh, we had such a different lived experience. And now that we're older, I think there is a strange resentment from her of she's had decades to catch up and has chosen not to.
Mm.
I will say that. But what's so interesting about my mom, I've written about elements of her. I've written about her regarding weight and diet culture because that's one thing that has made a big impact on me. And I know a lot of other women our ages have had moms who were like, you have to be skinny, the diet culture thing that led to a lot of eating disorders in our age group that we have tried to undo the damage for our own kids. But my mom doesn't pay attention when I write or podcast, and I send her, she knows where my Medium is, she knows where my Substack is, she follows me on Facebook. The only times she will pay attention to my writing is if I send it right to her, that, like, if her friends see it. When I
Yeah.
was when I got published in today.com, that was something she could show off.
Yeah.
Oh, my daughter has a national byline, and so that story made the rounds. I could be writing about her in plain I'm podcasting and talking about her right now. I'd say there's a 0.001% chance that she will ever see or hear about this. And I find this immensely strange and sort of part of that whole puzzle I would write about, because
Yeah.
what my daughters care about, I care about because I
Yeah.
want to know them.
Yeah.
And they're artists and they're like, my youngest one is into theater, like whatever they're into, I'm going to support it. I'm going to learn about it. And I'm going to be there as an observer and as a participant as much as I can be.
Yeah.
So the fact that, like, I will openly talk about my writing with her and she'll be like, so and so, our niece is a really great writer. We have a writer in the family. She said that to me once. And I was like, my 13-year-old niece is the writer in the family. I was like, okay. I
Wow.
mean, I'm sure she's a fine writer. She is. She's pretty talented for 13, but like, um,
Thanks, Mom.
thanks. So
Yeah.
one of the stories, probably my favorite one I wrote about my dad was from when I went to visit in February. I went to visit him, and then we took a 6-hour road trip to go. look at a college with my daughters. My eldest is a senior this year. And as we were driving, like the bang came in, right? And so I was very quiet in the backseat with my kids, and my mom's like, "Why are you being so quiet?" And I was like, "Well, I'm writing." About what? Oh, about seeing dad. And then her partner, she was like a new guy who's delightful. And over lunch on the way home, he was like, "Tell me about what you're writing about your dad." And I, in front of them, was like telling them about what the story was about. And he asked questions, and then I was like, "Oh, my story got boosted on Medium." Like I said it out loud, and he was like, "Well, I'd love to read it." And she never asked, but I sent the link to her, and she got very quiet in the car and read the whole thing. Um, And this, I don't want to get too much into the story, but as a narrative device in the story, he keeps asking me the same question over and over again. He keeps saying, I would say like, to redirect the conversation, I'm going to give my daughter a fake name just because I'm going to need to say a name for it to make sense. Like, "Oh, Annie has her license." And he would be like, "Oh my God, Annie can drive now." And we went through this, like, that's the touch point that the story
Yeah.
keeps coming back to as I'm redirecting him. And all she said was, "Did he really ask about Annie knowing how to drive that many times?" And I said, "Yes." She was like, "Hmm." And
And
that
that
was
was
it.
it.
And I'm like, it's easily one of the best stories I've ever written. Like, I don't want to pat my
Uh,
back too much, but like, it's a pretty
no,
good
no, no.
story.
No, when you
And
feel really good about something and like, I mean,
yeah,
I
and
haven't
that was
even read
it.
it and I have goosebumps because, you
I'll
know,
send it to you. You'll like this
yeah,
one.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure I
And
will. It's like, it's just sad when
right. I'm
your
like,
own mom can't just like, my mom was, she couldn't do it. Like, it was this very similar thing. It's like, if it was making her look good, if it
yes.
reflected well on her, then yes.
If I got a
Short of
book deal,
that,
she would tell all her friends about me writing a book, or if it were my job that was making me a lot of money. Like she always
those
asks me,
things.
"So are you earning money doing this?" During Three Imaginary Girls too, the whole music scene, like, "Are you making money doing this?" I'm like, "No, but I'm friends with Ben Gibbard now, Mom. I know you don't know who that is." I'm like, "It's
Right. I know
cool.
it's
I'm going to South by
it.
Southwest, and I'm like reporting it. Like Pitchfork just mentioned us, Mom. I know you don't know what that publication is. We sold out the Crocodile. It's a big
Right.
deal, Mom."
I know, it's just, it's a bummer. It really, it
Yeah,
hurts, It's like, it doesn't matter how old you
yeah,
are, how accomplished you are, or like how much
yeah.
it's a big deal. You
Right,
just want your mom to be like, "I'm so proud of you. That's like incredible,
right,
like way to go." You
right.
just want
Like
that, like
you
so
don't
much.
do this for money. You do it. I mean, it
It's
would
such
be
a
nice to be
small
doing it for
act,
money, but to just be like, "Wow, you're doing this because you love it." That
Yeah,
should
and
speak
I'm really
louder
proud of you. Look what
than
you're
my dumb job.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never. So,
No.
so I don't really like. I don't write about I don't
Yeah.
write about this, and I feel like this would be a great thing to write about. But I
You
probably would
probably will eventually.
maybe eventually in a
You
long time.
probably will eventually.
Um, but then when it comes to dating, that's my favorite because
Yeah. Yeah.
this is a timely story because um so I realized last weekend I'm going to write a note about this. I think that it's been 2 years since
Linnea
my
is saying the same thing. Her stepfather's more likely to read her small things than her mom.
oh yes. Oh well, I'm glad you have someone asking Linnea because you're a wonderful writer. I know Linnea from Medium, and now from coming on the podcast sometimes when they're not at 7 in the morning because we're all Pacific Coast people and 7 a.m. is early. But so I've now been single or like that relationship ended 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I have all these stories I've written on Medium and I'm moving them to Substack slowly. 'Cause I don't want to flood Substack with like, oh, here's 70 articles that stories I've written. And so these last few weeks I've been like, Lawrence, my partner in this, I'm like, once a week I'm gonna in order of appearance, I'm gonna talk about these. The first story was I had a little R relationship, and that's about the end of that relationship.
I saw. I've been following. I've been
Oh,
reading.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
They're great.
what happened after that story that ends with like, and I wish him well, is a story that if I could write it would probably be like my Netflix series. What happened after our breakup is fantastical and horrible,
Yeah.
and I can't write about it
Yeah.
because there's a 5-year restraining order.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, don't be sorry.
There is a part of me that's always like, are they watching me on? But I hope if they are, that's fine. But
Yeah.
so then from there, then there was like a long distance, like, online thing that happened and exploded. But the last 3 stories I've posted them all over the last week. They're called, I went on my first date in 6 years, my second first date, my third first date. Um, and 2 of the 3 men I'm talking about, I'm friends with on Facebook.
Right.
One of them is a writer. I have shared these stories on my Facebook page when they were released a year and a half ago. Neither of them said anything. Like, I am writing in plain view. And if they came to me and they were like, wow, that story, I would be like, yeah, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
I didn't feel the need to clear it with them. I don't name them,
Right.
but I'm kind of fascinated that, like, I'm still like friends, Facebook friends with these men.
Yeah.
And they either don't care or maybe they care a lot and they're like, that bitch wrote about me. I'm so freaked out. She's crazy. I have no idea. I've never heard a peep. So we have the right to our stories, though I don't name them. They're not identifiable
Right. I
by
think that's
describing
fine.
what
Like,
happened.
or they might not recognize themselves. People are
Well,
so
they'd have to.
interesting.
They're so specific. I mean, especially the third one. I
Yeah.
physically describe, I mean, he of any of them I describe that he's an author and
Yeah.
buying the book and the event where I met him. Like, you could probably figure out who this person was if you knew.
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh, he's so gorgeous. Wow, Allie. I'll send you a picture after the podcast. He was so good looking. That was about it though. But to me, it's very funny that I'm like, nobody cares. Like, you know how people are always like, oh, I went in public and I said something so embarrassing and I'll
Yeah.
die. And every time I need something to be anxious about, that's what I remember. Like, not only are people not paying attention in passing, you can write stories about them that make the writer hundreds of dollars
Right.
online. And still, like, hundreds or maybe thousands of people have read it and still they don't really care.
Yeah.
So don't be shy about sharing your stories. I mean, obviously, if it's someone identifiable, like there's another story I wrote last year about a local musician here. Do you know the band The Posies? You must. We're the same age.
Yes.
So Ken Stringfellow was one of the frontmen of The Posies. Have you heard about his devolution
No.
and all of the women he's allegedly
Oh God,
quite
no. But I
credibly
mean,
sexually
this is
assaulted?
not a surprise.
Right. He is someone I had a crush on way back in the day. I'm just looking for my dog. I'm always paranoid she's going to escape the gate somehow. Oh, and I see my headphones. They're sitting right there. The ones I couldn't find at the start. So back in like 2001, 2002, I had a huge crush on him and I invited him to go to karaoke. And we had one like very drunken, outrageous karaoke date we each brought friends. And I wrote this story because I know a lot of the women who came after, like, there's a whole like NPR local
Yeah.
station did a story. It became international news.
Yeah.
And this fucker took all that back and wrote an entire record basically saying these women are all jealous because they couldn't have me.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
That's what it
he's a
is.
horrible human.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
what it is.
and he came to Seattle. So he did a whole tour and he came to Seattle on that. Was one of the stops. He's from here. He's from this area. So this is a local dude. Um, and he booked into private venues because no venues would have him. They're like
Yeah.
living room shows. When you went to buy the ticket, there was a whole like, we reserve the right to cancel your ticket if you're press or if you say anything negative, we're going to throw you out. They were all in undisclosed locations. You found out like the hours before where you were supposed to go
This is
because
so
he was so.
crazy.
This is how
Cloak
he
and
had to tour.
daggers. Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to add my voice because he was out there on social media, like just slamming these women who came out publicly with these like awful stories of the, let's just not even say sexual assault, the way he raped them. So, but in some of the cases, like outright, like on the bathroom floor, mouth in their hand, kind of like
No. I mean,
awful
you know
shit.
what? Just like no. Like you
Yeah.
should not be allowed to.
And I should add, because I don't want to get sued, he is accused of doing these things credibly,
Right.
but by people who either I know or they're friends of friends.
Yeah.
And so I added my voice to this and I named him and I put the photos in from us being young and beautiful in like 2002 when we're at the Barn Off in Seattle, the shittiest dive bar with karaoke you can imagine. I consulted a friend who was a lawyer about that, of like, what do I need to say here? Because I had posted and said, should I write this story? And he posted it. I mean, I don't follow him, but people showed to me like, this woman is coming after me, and it was consensual. I'm like, I didn't say anything. I just made out with him drunkenly at the end of the night, and that was it. But I should move that story to Substack. It was a really good one. That one I consulted with a lawyer because he is famous, but like,
Right.
stories matter, right? And the more we share these stories, the more these victims feel comfortable coming forward. They're not the only ones on the line.
Yeah. No,
So,
I mean,
yeah,
that's a separate, to
right.
me, that's a separate,
True.
for me personally, like
Yeah.
my line of um demarcation, or like how
Yeah.
hard I'm working to protect someone's identity,
Yeah.
changes drastically if we're talking about, you know, a person who
It's
has
famous. Or sexual
sexual assault, or yeah. I
accused
have,
of. None of it has gone to court. It's all just
right.
been in the media. So I do have
Well,
to
in the
say that
case that you're
accused.
talking about, allegedly, just to
Yes.
protect your you.
Yes.
Um,
Excuse me. Don't
but
sue us. Yeah,
I have
Damon
like,
here is saying, Damon is from Seattle, a music guy. Hi, Damon. And he's saying he's slowly making a sad comeback. I used to love the Posies. They were a beloved band here. I mean,
yeah,
so many, I didn't grow up here, but everyone who did grew up with the Posies.
it's so
So,
sad when
yeah.
you hold someone in like high esteem, and then you hear these horrible things. You know, you're just like, it does,
Can't listen to the music anymore.
it's so demoralizing.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh God, really, you too? Like, that's such a bummer. Not you too,
Yes.
fan.
No,
You,
no, no. I,
you.
I know what you mean.
Um,
But
I
it's
don't want
sort of the same theme, only in that he was very angry I was telling this story. And again, I'm holding to like, this is my story to tell.
right. I can tell the
And
story. I have,
and contextualize it with the news that we now know about him.
when I was 17, I was working in this restaurant, and the owner of the restaurant was 20 plus years older, 21 years older than I was. And he actively pursued me. And,
Do.
I had a boyfriend who, went away to college, and I was devastated, and I ended up going out with him eventually. He just like wore me down, wore me down, wore me down. And I ended up with that guy for 3 years, which was pretty much my entire college experience. And it was the most painful. I mean, he was an absolute just um abuse, like emotionally abusive, just like wear you down, make you doubt yourself, like
Oh, have you written about him?
yeah. And
Yeah.
I have not, I haven't named him, but I haven't worked hard to cover his identity, because it was painful. It was really painful.
Yeah.
And I did eventually end it, but I like almost didn't make it. Honestly,
All right.
it was so painful. What
But
ended up happening, and
sorry, young
I
women
didn't
need to hear these
have,
stories and learn
well,
from
when
them.
you have a daughter, like my daughter's 16, so she's like coming up on the age now it's easy for me to see you don't have a prayer. Like,
Right.
when someone 20 years older, like a grown ass man with
Ugh.
businesses, and like, who's had a whole life, is coming after you, and you are 17, good luck. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how whatever you are. You do not have a prayer. And
Yeah.
I look back on that, for most of my like past relationships, I have it's like whatever, like I'm friends with most, like I don't hold on to stuff. But that guy, like, I look back on that and I'm like, yeah, you really took something from me that I'll never have. Like, I'll never have sort of
It's
like
a
that
Taylor Swift song about this.
college experience that I could have
Yes.
had, that I should have had. And I worked my ass off. I skipped
Okay,
my
you're
senior
freaking me out. Have you
of
heard the
high
song "Could Have,
school.
Would Have, Should Have" by Taylor Swift?
I know, but I skipped my senior year of high school and went to Columbia. Like, I worked my ass off. And I feel like, I look back on that and I just feel so sad that I ended up in this world with this person who um was just so mean. He was so mean. He really was.
I'm
He was just
sorry.
so um no, it's okay. I mean, I'm fine. I'm here and we
Yeah.
get through
I
these things.
I
But I
put a
don't
link to
have
the song in
any.
the chat because it's Taylor. Sorry to bring it back to Taylor
No,
Swift,
no, that's
but
okay.
she's a brilliant storyteller, and it's like it's off of is it off of Midnights, or yeah, I think it's one of the vault tracks off of Midnights. I think my kids would be upset that I'm not sure, but it's about her relationship with John Mayer when she was 19 and he was much older,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Give me back my girlhood. It was mine first."
Right. Like it's not
All the
you
experiences he
can't
took from her.
you're not going to get that time back again. And
No,
so, that's an experience from I when I see these guys like hit, my 16-year-old comes back and tells me it's like if she were a different kind of person, a different kind of kid, if she were in a different state, it's like, you know, there are young girls who are vulnerable to that kind of that's why the Epstein stuff makes me want to I don't even know what to do with myself, you
I
know?
know. Oh
Um,
yeah, that's tomorrow. They're doing their big
yes,
thing on the steps tomorrow.
it makes me enraged because it's like there are girls who they don't have a family
Right,
that's gonna stand, they're not, they're vulnerable. They're out there on their own.
they
And,
are.
so I just, yeah. Anyway, we could go into people like that. Yeah, I'm not going to work very hard to protect your identity. Um,
No, fuck
but
those
other
people.
people, yes. Like if I were writing about, whatever, I probably would because
Right?
I am not I don't ever want to upset anyone. If I'm telling a story like that, that's anecdotal, I'm sharing it because either it's funny or interesting, or I hope it's going to help someone. Like I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm trying to explain. Um, I'm trying to highlight something that I think a lot of people will relate to. And, he's like guys, I think, I don't know, we were talking about this too. It's like, I'll get messages from dudes who are asking me to take on, it's so crazy. Like, what are you, well, we don't know each other and you're hitting my DMs with hey, do you want to uh, this is a topic that's really interesting to me, or it's just so bizarre, or oh, I wrote something, I thought you would find it useful, or what are
Right.
you
No
doing
thanks.
right now?
No
If you
thanks.
want me to read something you wrote, just say that. Don't say I thought it would be useful to you. Just don't be a jerk. Just ask me to
Right.
read something. Actually don't. Don't hit my DMs. Don't do that.
Right.
Just if you, I mean, these are things that I feel like most people, um, certainly people like us and
Yeah.
most of the people that I've connected with here understand is if you want to connect with writers here on this platform, just figure out whose work is resonating with you.
Right. And comment
Read
and
their
make it
work.
organic. Yeah.
Make it real. Read their stuff because you're getting something out of it. Comment,
Right.
like engage with this person. Don't spam their stuff with your stuff. Just engage with them. I can
100%.
tell you the people that engage with my writing and leave comments, I if somebody shows up a number of times, I go and look at their
Yeah. You
thing.
get to know them
I
for
see
sure.
who is this person
People who
leaving
show
this
up for our
really
podcasts,
thoughtful
on the daily
comment.
whatever.
Yeah,
They
they're
feel
leaving
like friends.
yes. And
Here's some of their names
it'll
here.
happen. But don't DM people with your don't do that. Everybody's busy.
Right.
I just don't anyway. So
Speaking of
stuff
being
like that.
busy, I know, Allie, I'm gonna have to drop in a minute.
Yeah,
First of all, because
yeah,
my
we
phone's
got it. I
almost
know.
dead, but
I do
I need
too.
to pick my daughter's first day of high school was today,
Yes.
and I need to
I'm
go
gonna
get her
have to
soon.
get out of my daughter's room because she's
Right?
gonna back soon and be like, why are you like, what are you doing in my room?
Right.
Um,
So she can draw your shit, kid.
yeah, like get your
This
stuff
one does.
out of my room. No, she's not like that. She would be totally cool, but I do want to clear out of her space, and we have been on quite a while. This was great again.
You're wonderful, Allie.
I'm
Thank you
not
so much.
surprised. Thank you. And I hope everybody watching, like if you haven't gone and subscribed to Dana, she's wonderful.
Thank you.
And if you have, I'm just checking to see I don't think we missed anyone. Um, but if you end up having like thoughts or questions or anything about this topic, like writing about other people or where the line is or whatever, I'm going to put the talk out as soon as Substack tells me it's ready. And certainly there'll be opportunity to comment underneath. And I'm sure Dana
I
both.
I will as well. And I'm probably gonna tag everybody too, because I'm doing my thing that Lawrence and I always do, which is capture the
Dana's good like
chats.
that. Dana's very good like with the podcasting stuff. I'm like, it's not really my thing, but I love talking to writers about writing. So, forgive me for being
No, there's
bad.
nothing to forgive. I love podcasting. I love what Lawrence and I are doing and building
I
community
do
and
too. Oh,
talking
go
to.
check out the Daily Whatever too. They are so great. Lawrence is like you're gonna want Lawrence to move in with you.
Yes.
He's like,
There's
yeah,
a reason he's been my best friend for over
yeah,
40 years. He's
yeah.
awesome. But I do like, I feel like a little sad that I think people on Substack who know me think of me more as a podcaster than a writer. And I'm like, but writing is my first love. So being able to talk about ethics around writing all day, all
Yeah.
afternoon here with you has been wonderful. Thank you.
I wouldn't feel, yeah, I wouldn't
Oh,
worry.
there's Lawrence saying, aw,
Yeah, we love you,
love
Lawrence.
you, Lawrence.
Such a, yeah, you're like one of those people you can just tell right away, like, oh, this person is just, you both are wonderful. I'm not at all
Thank
surprised
you.
you're best friends. And yeah. Yeah, no, I wouldn't worry about that, Dana. I think like people are gonna find you the way they find you, find
Yeah,
work, and it's yeah, yeah. But
it's all
thank
good. It's
you
all
for joining
storytelling,
me.
right? It's all
And
forms of
yes,
storytelling.
exactly, exactly. And I know we'll do this again. So
I know we're definitely we are already coming back later this
yeah,
month.
I know.
With
I know.
Melissa Corrigan. That's going to be
That's
amazing.
right. I'm coming on the 25th. I'm going to be back on the Daily Whatever with you and Melissa Corrigan and Lawrence. So,
Yes.
right? Is Lawrence coming to that
Yes,
one?
we're going to figure out a way. We'll probably have to not just use live. We'll have to use a different app so that we can get 4 on. But
Four
none
people,
of us
right?
want to step down because that's
Unless I
not
come to
fair. We
Seattle.
all need to talk together.
Yeah.
Meeting of the minds. It's
Okay.
going to be great.
All right. Wonderful.
Okay.
Have a great rest of your day. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks
Bye,
for joining.
everybody.
Bye. Now I'm going to see if I can figure out how to turn it off. Okay. Yeah, I think I can. Bye.